So there's the first big name to officially be recorded by the office here at the Seekonk Speedway, Bobby Santos. And there'll be more that will follow for that big extravaganza here for the modifieds. Wednesday night, July 18th, Kirk Alexander, the defending champion, $10,000 on the line. And don't forget, the True Value Modified Series will be back here in August on the 18th of August. The modifieds are ready. Flagman John Spence Jr. with flags in hand, waving them out of the corner. Green flag. Who will lead lap number one? Andy Sykes looks like he wants it. Vinny on the bottom. It's a drag race out of turn number 4. Sykes. Andy Sykes leads the first circuit. Down the back straightaway, they're side by side here. Great battle here at the outset between Andy Sykes on the high side and Vinny Annarummo, sparks fly. The veteran and the kid from Hampstead, New Hampshire. Sykes drops in behind the veteran. Jimmy Kuhn runs in third spot. Now you've got a good run up top from Dave Bergman. A correction, Bill Goodrow. Goodrow on the outside of Teddy Christopher. Goodrow getting it hooked up outside. Mike Holdridge slow at the bottom of that number 2 corner. Mike Stefanik's right there with the number 60 car. Races right behind Peter Jarvis. Jarvis, the veteran from Ascutney, Vermont. Right behind Jimmy Kuhn. Racing for the 4th position on the speedway. True Value Modified races are 100 laps of green flag racing. We do not count the cautions on this series. Good side-by-side racing going on behind Jimmy Kuhn for the 4th spot. Jarvis on the bottom, Goodrow on the outside. TC and Mike Stefanik. Les Higley now, down the back straightaway. Rob Goodenough. Side-by-side racing into turn number 3. Goodrow gets high. Higley goes to the inside. Stefanik and Rob Goodenough. Hooked up in a good battle there as they go wheel to wheel down the back chute. Dwight Jarvis watches from the number 28. All kinds of traffic and side-by-side racing. Jarvis wants in on it. He goes 3 wide down the back straightaway. Forced Goodrow into the outside. Went right underneath. What a move by Dwight Jarvis. Underneath Mike Stefanik. Mike Douglas off the speedway, brings it back out onto the racetrack. And we stay under green here with 13 into the record books. Here's Jarvis and Sykes battling for the 2nd spot. Jimmy Kuhn's in 4th. Teddy Christopher's in 5th spot. 6th is Les Higley. 7th, Goodenough. What a move Jarvis put on Mike Stefanik. Jarvis trying to hook it up outside. The defending champion up top going into turn number 3. Wheel to wheel with Rob Goodenough. Throw an eye back through the pack. we got Louis Michelinas and Kirk Alexander in heavy traffic on the back straightaway. They race behind Houlihan and Bergman. And Eddie Dockenhausen in the number 48. Hinckley on the inside of Goodenough as Goodenough challenges him outside. With Stefanik right behind him. So the top 10 positions go nose to tail down the back straightaway. Stefanik and Hinckley, nerf bar to nerf bar, side by side through the first and second turns. Vinny Annarummo setting a nice pace here. Peter Jarvis in only his second year on the True Value Modified Series, bearing down on the race leader. Side-by-side racing for the prep spot, Jarvis and TC. Blake doing a nice job holding off. Teddy Christopher in the Zynecki brothers, number 11. Goodenough right up behind him in the number 6. Jarvis is going after Annarummo. Peter Jarvis wants the point. Right up behind him, coming down the front straightaway. Good run for Jarvis. They arrived here late. They got nowhere near the practice time of everybody else. The car came in from Vermont late this afternoon, and they have got this car going well here in the first quarter of this 100-lapper. As the 9 New Hampshire with Jarvis at the controls has caught the race leader. Peter Jarvis, second. Third, Andy Seiss. Jimmy Kuhn and Dwight Jarvis, the top 5. Sixth is Rob Goodenough. Race for 7th between Mike Stefanik and Teddy Christopher. Tony Rickey right behind him in the 9th position. And in 10th spot is Les Hinckley. Bill Goodrow has been booted back to around 11th as the leader, Vinny Annarummo, is going through traffic in turn number 2. They catch up to the back end of the field here, going by Ivanchin and Mike Douglas. "28 laps are on the board here at the Seekonk Speedway for the ground-pounding modifieds of the True Value Series. Passing flag showing the Dale Ivanchin out here on the front straightaway. Heavy traffic going into turn number 1. Alexander's gotten by Michelinas and comes up behind Les Hinckley. Third, fourth, and fifth going through the pack of lap cars in that first and second turn. Jimmy Kuhn with Dwight Jarvis right behind them. So your third, fourth, and fifth scoot down the front straightaway within striking distance of each other. Sixth is Goodenough. Stefanik is running 7th. Christopher is in 8th. 9th spot is Tony Rickey. Bill Goodrow is running in the 10th position. Kirk Alexander goes by Les Hinckley and closes on Dave Bergman. Alexander on the outside of Bergman. Fans, keep an eye on the number 43. Alexander's going to work further back in the pack on the outside. Meanwhile, up the front of the field here, the fast paces continue to be set by the number 12, Vinny Annarummo. Peter Jarvis, the 25 car with Andy Seiss. Some good competition going on in that second turn as the cars make their way by the slower cars. Annarummo started on the point and has led the entire first 39 laps here at Seekonk Speedway. Black Mountain Painting posts a halfway leader award. Whoever leads lap number 50 will pick that up. Laps completed. Heavy traffic on the front straightaway. Andy Seiss is caught up to Peter Jarvis. Andy Seiss challenging Peter Jarvis in turn 4 on the outside. The young hot shoot from Hampstead, New Hampshire rolls the Roscoe Racing number 25 back in the second spot on lap number 43. Andy Seiss now. Does he have anything for Vinny Annarummo? Jimmy Kuhn's closed on Peter Jarvis. Kuhn right up behind the 9 New Hampshire. Annarummo right up behind Dockenhausen in the third turn. Lap number 47 on the board. Kuhn right behind Peter Jarvis as they work into that first corner. And right behind Kuhn is brother Dwight Jarvis. Stefanik and Tony Ricky distantly back. Teddy Christopher is faded in the 11 car. Races behind Kirk Alexander. Alexander not as fast as he was. Louis Michelinas has gotten by the number 43. Ready to go halfway. Annarummo gets the Black Mountain Painting Award. The Black Mountain Halfway Award going to Vinny. Peter Jarvis now being chased by Dwight Jarvis, who's gotten by Jimmy Kuhn. Dwight goes to fourth spot. Annarummo holding on to that top spot here. Andy Seiss trying to keep him within striking distance and keeping an eye on him on that back straightaway. Jarvis, Peter Jarvis in third. Dwight Jarvis. Whoa, we got our first spin. It's Mike Stefanik around. Stefanik in the number 60. Waved back onto the speedway by John Spence. And the many-time champion is under green and on the speedway and racing again in that number 60 modified. So far for Vinny Annarummo, he has been untested since the opening laps when Andy Seiss went wheel to wheel with him, setting a very fast pace on his home speedway. Jimmy Kuhn now to the inside of Dwight Jarvis in the first turn. Kuhn trying to re-inherit that spot. Challenges the number 28 down low going into turn number 3 in traffic. Right up tight behind Peter Jarvis coming out of the turn. Nice move by Kuhn. Yellow flag is out. And it's for Mike Stefanik again. Mike Stefanik looping it out here on the front straightaway. And he's got that Northeast Sunoco sponsored modified refired here on lap number 59. Houlihan's gone into the pit area in car number 46. Hinckley's in the pit area. Dockenhausen's going in the 48 car. Your second place car is Andy Seiss. won his heat race today. Interesting story on Seiss. He's been in 3 cars this season. He drove for Brian Schofield at the outset of the year, jumped into his family-owned modified recently at the Monadnock Speedway, and this past week announced that he was going to team up with longtime modified campaigner in New Hampshire, Gary Casella. But back here in New England and driving for Gary Casella tonight's got a second place going right now. John Spence throws the green back to racing. Peter Jarvis on the outside trying to get that number 2 spot. Look at this. Dwight is right there in behind Andy Seiss. And on the outside, Jimmy Kuhn, the 17 a lap car. Tony Rickey and Louis Michelitis trying to get to the front of drag race out of turn number 2. Is the number 17 is a lap car. That is Luke Roya in the Jack Bateman number 17. Down the back straightaway, Annarummo. Andy Seiss, Peter Jarvis. Second and third, Dwight Jarvis. Still looking for that first win in 2007. Running at a nice 4th spot right now for the defending champion. But the front of the pack, it is Vinny Annarummo. Luke Roya on the high side of the back straightaway. Sparks between the 25 and the 9 New Hampshire. Andy Seiss looking right at home in the Casella car. Here comes Tony Rickey now. Rickey on the outside of Kuhn and Michelitis. Fans keep an eye on Rickey and Michelitis. They're coming to the front. The 4 and the 40 car. Michelitis goes by Kuhn. He is just following Tony Rickey. Right up behind Dwight Jarvis. We got another good one going with the True Value Modifieds. Mike Douglas Jr. slows on the back straightaway in turn number 3. Lots of dicing going on. You've got Peter Jarvis on the outside in second spot. He got that number 2 spot back in traffic. He got by the number 25 Casella. Annarummo, Jarvis, the 25, Andy Seiss. Dwight Jarvis in the number 28, Louis, whoa! Tony Rickey into the wall hard. Rickey into the wall, he's still going. He's got a smoking right rear tire. I can't believe he's still racing around out there. John Spence is going to reach for the black flag. They are going to throw the black flag at Tony Rickey. He hit the wall out here and he's keeping on trucking. He'll get the black flag down the front straightaway. He pulls into traffic. There's the black flag for Rickey. They want him off the speedway. Tony Rickey staying under power. Continuing the race. He's been disqualified. Meanwhile, Michelitis on the bottom of turn number 3. Starts underneath. Dwight Jarvis. Lightning Lou coming alive here. Louis Michelitis just went by Jarvis in turn number 3. Keep an eye on the number 40. So your leader is Vinny Annarummo, Peter Jarvis second. Here comes Michelitis to the outside of Seiss. Seiss and Jarvis are going to have their hands full of Louis Michelitis here, and they know it. Seiss looks to the inside of Jarvis on the back straightaway. Nothing doing there. What a run by Peter Jarvis. Down the front straightaway. Bill Goodrow right in behind Dwight Jarvis in the number 38, but he is off the base. Jimmy Kuhn is the next car on the board in the number 72 car. Here's Seiss to the inside of Jarvis. Wheel to wheel out of the turn. Down the front straightaway, Andy. On the bottom goes into the second spot. Andy Seiss to second. Here's Michelinas to the inside and Jarvis. Lightning low to the bottom. In turn number 3. Right to the inside of Peter Jarvis. Oh man, look at that battle there for the number 3 spot on the Speedway. Both those guys want a podium finish. Vinny Annarummo coming up on slower cars. Andy Seiss, Louis Michelinas in 3rd spot. Peter Jarvis, Dwight Jarvis 4th and 5th. A fairly clean racetrack lies ahead of the number 12. Does Andy Seiss have anything for Vinny Annarummo here in the closing stages? Right down to the wire here at Seekonk. The first of 4 appearances by the True Value Modified Series here. Annarummo trying to hang on with 15 laps to go. And Andy Seiss and Michelinas are closing on the race leader. Dwight Jarvis pressures, Jarvis pressures his brother in the number 1 corner. Here comes Michelinas as he goes to the outside of Todd Patnode. Andy Seiss right up behind Vinny Annarummo. Modified racing at its best here on a Saturday night in Massachusetts at Seekonk. Vinny bobbles. Annarummo almost lost it there as Andy Seiss is right there with him coming out of turn number 2. Michelinas in behind a slower car, right up behind Vinny Annarummo, and Andy Seiss is going to take the lead. Andy Seiss takes over the lead here on lap number 89. Oh man, look at this. 10 laps to go. Vinny fights back on the inside. Annarummo says, "You're in my yard, kid." They're side by side out of turn number 2. And Seiss, look at Vinny on the bottom. Louis watching it in the 40 car. He's got the best seat in the house. Inches apart, side by side, down the back straightaway. Wow, what a show here tonight. Vinny and Andy Seiss. Louis Michelinas, you put a blanket over these guys. And to turn number 1 they go. Andy Seiss trying to glue it down with Louis Michelinas on the inside. Look at this battle here in the closing laps of this unbelievable event here. The AAA of Southern New England 100 is a classic here at Seekonk. Down the back straightaway, they got a slower car that lies ahead. Here's your top 3. Out of the corner, Andy Seiss to the high side. Michelinas to the bottom. Seiss trying to hang on here. He's working the hardest out there. On the high side of the corners here at the Seekonk Speedway, Michelinas right behind Vinny. Unbelievable. 5 laps to go. 5 laps to go in an unbelievable race. One of the more hotly contested races seen on this series in 4 years. Your top 3 down the front straightaway. Michelinas right up behind Vinny Annarummo. Question is, who's it going to be? Who's going to win it? Annarummo. Next time around, there's going to be 2 laps to go. There's the clean speedway Annarummo wanted. Now it'll be up to Michelinas, and it'll be up to Seiss. 2 laps to go. Seiss in 2nd spot at the stripe. Into the number 1 corner. The pressure's off Vinny now. Michelinas inside Seiss. Lightning Lou is gonna go for the lead. Out of the corner. White flag out. Down the front straightaway. Unbelievable finish here. As Louis goes by, Seiss in the 2nd. He's gonna let it all hang out. John Spence has the checkers waving. There's your winner, Vinny Ho. down here with a very, very happy Vinny Annarummo. I told you a few minutes ago under caution, I interviewed this guy earlier today. We talked about modified racing, we talked about his career, and the fact that he did drive modifieds back in the 80s, got away from it when he started his business. This series gave him an opportunity to get back in modified racing, and you told me today you want to win a modified race, and listen here, buddy, you did.
I fulfilled everything I wanted to do, and I couldn't retire until I won a modified race.
42 victories here at Seekonk Speedway. He will be 58 years old on Monday. Oh, 49. All right, Jack Goody. Listen, congratulations. Take us back. You started on the pole. You went out front. You had pressure. And I mean, you could have put a blanket over Sice, you, and Michelinas. What a tremendous. This is probably the closest race we've had on this series in 4 years. It took 26 minutes to run this thing off.
Well, let me tell you, everybody thinks you start on the pole, it's easy to win a race. Well, let me tell you, that's hard. It's like your nerves the whole time. If somebody does your front load on the side here, we were lucky we had a lot of long green racing. I got out in front of the pace myself. But at the end, the guys were all over me.
They certainly were. Take us back to lap number 90, 10 laps to go. When John showed you 10 figures up there, what went through your mind?
My car started losing it up on lap 8. And I'm saying, please, stay enough that I can keep it under me. You know, I just drove it the best I could.
Congratulations.
It helps with the thousands of laps I got around this racetrack.
Nobody knows this place any better on this tour than Vinny Annarummo. I'll let you get to these people. They're waiting for you. How about a nice hand for Vinny who? Vinny Annarummo. Louis Michelinas, a winner last Friday night up at the USA. You put on a show here tonight for the Seekonk fans. You've been in that spot over there. Tell us about the last 10 laps.
Yeah, I was just racing, and I think we only had one caution, and I was passing. I didn't know which one was the lap cars and race cars. On the last restart, I thought I was pretty close to the front. Vinny was still leading, so we just kept racing, and next thing I know, it was 3 of us together at the end. It's never been that tight at the end.
Was there any point that you thought you could have a shot at the front?
I was halfway through the race, and it felt really good. It was still fast, and we were still passing cars, and we just kept on going.
Congratulations. Another great weekend for Louis Michelinas.
Thanks.
All righty, second place runner, Lightning Lou. How about a nice hand for him? And our third podium finisher here, this is a story in itself. We told you this past week on our website that this guy was going to team up with Gary Casella this weekend. He in fact did, and boy, you did it well. You won your heat race tonight. You put on a show for the Seekonk fans. You've been in victory lane here before, almost pulled it off here tonight.
Yeah, we were looking forward to the win. I think it could have been anybody's race down those last few laps. Really thinking at one point it was going to play into my favor, but you know, hats off to those guys.